Can you guys still hear me? Yeah? All right. My headset made a weird noise. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Open Mic uh, this Thursday, getting ready for the holiday. So I know I was talking to Gene, it gets pretty hectic, at least for us here, end of quarter, end of year, trying to get all those things done. I know we're finalizing budget plans, approving things, closing deals. So I do appreciate that. Today we have a different type of open mic. Usually open mics are just, nothing, no topic specific. They're open conversations. But talking to Gene, he shared that there was a really interesting topic to just, talk about. And he specifically when it came to the MGM breach and how important it is to focus on keeping the help desk team and that focus because I think a lot of times we're like focusing on security for our clients and not pushing products but offering solutions and our expertise, but then we also our team, how vulnerable they can be. And I thought it was really cool. So with us today, we have Gene, and he's going to be uh, speaking about that. So, Gene, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate you joining, and let's just tell us the story.
Yeah, so thanks, for having me back. It was good to see some of you in person at IT Nation Connect. Always a fun time to meet people in person and make new memories. So that was great. And I think the main thing that's been really crazy for Traceless this year, and I think MSPs, is that the breaches that we've been seeing in the news have a lot to do with what we do as a business, as an MSP, and that's help desk services. And the MGM breach was started because somebody reset a password without checking who was calling, and that's it just seems so simple, but it was the door that got opened, and for the Okta breach, that was another, in general speaking, help desk attack, right? So in our minds, we're going to be seeing more people attack help desks and help desk systems because there's a lot of critical data in the systems and a lot of power within the help desk. And I think that attackers are much more aware of that. And we all advertise that we do help desk stuff. So for me, that's kind of frightening. Just seeing like, hey, like it's not going to take long for people to kind of move this attack down market. And the message I have is it's hard to run an MSP, and I would just say, like, try to put in something in your operations so that you're just doing something. You're raising awareness on your team. You've got some sort of process. I don't know. That's kind of what I wanted to chat about in this open mic today. And I don't know if this is on anyone's minds. I mean, it was super crazy to me too that like so many of the post-analysis of Okta breach has nothing to do with like your help desk system is a vector, protect it. It's nothing about your help desk needs better operations. Like it's all about, security awareness training and enable MFA and report, push your vendors to report breaches. And I think that's it just seems to be missing in the headlines, and it feels like I'm going crazy talking about this, but I guess I'm not going to stop talking about it because I think it's a big deal for MSPs.
Yeah, I think what we were talking about the help desk, and uh, we always heard like MSPs are targets. Uh, and it seems like that's an easy point of entry. I mean, I know that when it comes to like social media, with a lot of things that we do is we post our or comments or feedbacks that a client sent us. So and that's out there. So I mean, it's easy for somebody to say, oh yeah, matrix integration is dealing with XYZ bank. Let's call into their help desk and say, I'm so and so, and you need to my password reset or whatever it could be. And earlier I was talking to Richard, and he was actually asking that question, like how do you guys protect that? And um, I know for us, and this is a story I told Richard when one of our first help desk client was foundation that manages the funds for the Presbyterian churches, and they had that procedure already in place because they had so many remote users when they were calling their internal help desk. It was just a callback. Just if somebody needed to was either locked out or reset, they were calling to the number that they had on record, and that person had to be at that location, had to be able to answer that number. That was a requirement that they immediately put in with us. And like I say, it was one of our first full-blown help desk clients, and what they were calling in. And ever since then, we implemented that, and now we're using Cyber QP, the quick pass push verification, and also using the self-serve. So that's, I mean, my take and my story from that perspective. But at the same time, when you deal with engineers and uh, they all think that they don't need to take that security awareness training because they are, the tech guys, and they know that already. It's I think it's interesting and very important to remind them, and be aware of what is happening, because I can just see them getting in just the routine. And it's like, oh, so and so she's gonna call me, and they always call me because they just need access to X or password reset, or provide him with some level of information and can bring that level of comfort and bring their guard down.
Yeah, and I think also like even not putting info on websites, that's a great practice. I think keep it anonymous, but even attackers can watch larger companies and find out when people start working there, and then they could, call somebody and say, "Oh, hey, it's so and so. I just started working here. How do what's the number again for IT?" Right? It's, oh yeah, we use this MSP, right? So just like the information gathering of phishing attacks is probably going unreported, but is a very easy kind of like what happens before that happens, right? And so I don't think we're immune to it, and it's going to get worse. The pressure is going to get like higher, I think. And so, yeah, to your point, Juan, like it's been hard for some people to stand up this process because of the need to get things installed on devices. And so, we just integrated Duo. So if someone's a big Duo shop and they standardize on that, you could sign up for Traceless and integrate Duo. There's like a little bug stuff going on right now. It's like very fascinating because the way that they provide documentation doesn't really explain how every different MSP could possibly configure Duo in their own workflows. So, but that's helping people get to this faster. And then we're very close to Microsoft Authenticator. So, to be able to adopt a tool and integrate with something you're already doing is going to be a lot easier from our perspective. And that's what we're trying to do, is make it easier for people.
And all this also aligns with this. I'm going to do the plug in there for your solution, right? Which is all that secure communication with the end user. And then we talk about there the different layer, right? Not only the calling in and the verification, but make sure that information is also secure.
Yeah, 100%. That was another big breach, was the Move It breach, where like a ton of sensitive information was just exposed. And even like, the irony of being in our world was, Okta, basically the breach happened from a HAR file that was left in the ticketing system. And then me being on a support request with Google, and they're like, do this and send us a HAR file, please. And I'm just like, didn't you guys read the news? Like, shouldn't we not just leave these things that encapsulate sensitive information sitting around in ticketing systems. So I think that was also another interesting part of the Okta breach that is not getting talked about, is like, don't leave sensitive info sitting at rest. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't think I'm crazy, but like it feels like it sometimes.
I'm capturing that note. Don't let sensitive information sit in a rest over here.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, out of everybody who is online, does everybody have like a code or something that when somebody calls into the help desk that they're doing a verification?
We don't have anything right now, Heather. That's why I was asking the question of Juan earlier to see what he was doing, because we definitely need one.
Right.
And it's just a legacy issue that I'm now trying to close the gap on. So, you know,
I was curious if anybody does it. Because we don't.
We don't do it either.
Yeah, we just call the user back. That's our policy. We call the user back on the number that's on record inside of the contact. So they have to be at that location for anything that is sensitive. If it's like a password reset on, if we need to unlock accounts and access to information when it comes to permissions. So I mean, there's all other verifications when it comes to like access and things like that. But just validating the users. And for the ones that we use QuickPass, the ones that have the push notification, the clients that do have that, then we will use that method as well.
I'm gonna go ask my staff.
But at the same time, Adam was put in there, and something that's very important is response training. Also, and creating some emphasis, I think, that on the and Adam, you mean in there for clients or for your actual team?
Is my microphone working today?
Yes,
it is.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Gene, how you doing?
Hey, what up, dude?
Yeah, I learned like this is like 2 decades ago in corporate IT, and the help desk people just didn't know what to do when there was an attack. Like this is a guy who actively was witnessing somebody hacking into his server and didn't know how to respond. Like oh, it must be one of my friends. His assumption was not of malice. This is before the zero trust days and everything. So having even your help desk people know, like, when you see this behavior, what do you do? Like I heard just like, I went to a CISO position where my predecessor, that's the reason the job opening was there, when he saw an attack, would run across the office and just unplug the PC and disrupt everybody. So they had no response plan. And so the training, the understanding, like, here's how we respond to an attacker, became a very high priority for us. The help desk knew, like, verify, do this. Step 2, call the CISO or call your security person, figure out what's going on, so that those seconds matter. But usually what we found was by the time you notice an exploit, you're already screwed. Now you need to start your cleanup plan. So preventing it with something like Traceless is key, but your help desk needs to know to do this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, I think it's hard to get people to change their behavior, and like I said, tool creep is real. So I think from my perspective, putting in a process is better than nothing, right? And we're trying to make it easier to adopt our tool with things that people already have in place, like Duo and Microsoft Authenticator. And we'll have passkeys sorted out here pretty quick. And passkeys are really interesting because we have some MSPs that have support focus on places like hospitals and factories where they can't assign cell phone numbers to employees. And so that'll allow, and those employees may not have an email account, they just have a computer. So that'll help in that that segment of, focus that we see in this space. So we're pretty excited about passkeys.
We had one call center that used grid cards
Yeah.
because they didn't know which computer they'd be sitting at that day.
Anybody to follow on Heather's questions, anybody else that has an experience on you have a process or tool? I'm just interested to see what anybody else is doing or using.
Juan, we do similar to what you do. We won't, anything that's classified as a security ticket through dispatch, even if a person calls in, we will not allow that to transfer direct to a person. We still make it the ticket creation process happen. It go to the board, and then we will have a callback verification at the number. So they have that ticket. They're going to get that ticket creation notice, to the emailed, and then we do the follow up back to that main number. So
In the
similar
corporate
to us. Like we don't, nobody will do anything over the phone in terms of anything related to security or passwords or anything like that. It's just, it all will have to get done a different way and transferred to a technician who will then call back that user.
So do you call it? Can I jump in? Ask my question. Do you guys? I know, like you guys could stop me. So, because I just asked, and so we have cell phone numbers and work numbers for everybody. So I guess technically if somebody stole their phone and stole their computer, they could get through our security. So do I have to revisit that now?
I mean, that's like saying, SIM cards can get hijacked. I mean, I think that like you can go in very deep.
I don't need to go deep, right?
Whatever. But like, I think that if you have what's interesting when you talk to businesses is like, compliance is about showing that you're not negligent, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of what we do operationally as MSPs is demonstrating that we're not being negligent with our customers or the operations that we have. And I think any process is a good one. And if you follow that process and there was an outlying scenario, I think it's still not great, but it's better than just being like, oh, that sucked,
Well, what they said was, because they said, well, what happens if they don't have their cell phone and they're obviously not in the office because they're traveling? So what they do then is they remote into the computer and do a chat with them and say, we just received a phone call and we want to verify it's you. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I guess if they say they don't have their computer either, then we would just call our contact and say, is Susie really in South America?
Yeah. And that was something that happened to somebody. They were telling us that a computer got stolen abroad and somebody like started slacking their HR person saying like, oh yeah, like my flight's all messed up and like I know payroll's coming, but I need some help. I'm trying to do this. Like it was that like level of, how do they know, right? So
Right.
Things are going to get more weird, I think, from these types of attacks.
A little bit more crafted and direct.
Yeah, they're sneaky little people.
Awesome.
So I don't know that much about Traceless as a whole.
You don't remember? We talked about it at the bar at IT Nation. Come on.
I knew I was going to get called
conversations.
out on that. I knew it.
10 other people.
I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm happy to, if the group will accept, I'm happy to give the pitch.
Can you
absolutely.
do like a 5-minute refresher for me, please?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll give you the shot of like where we are today and then where we're going next year.
Okay.
So like I mentioned, I have an MSP. I used to be part of a group that formally got turned into the Cybersecurity Advisory Council for ConnectWise.
Right.
And in that group, we talked about all sorts of stuff. And one of them was like, how are MSPs getting breached? And, you know, that was 4 or 5 years ago. So, you know, it was pretty scary. I think it's still pretty scary, but like the stories that we were hearing from one of our peers were like things that I couldn't imagine could happen, right? And I realized I had 2 vulnerabilities. One was we had no idea who's calling our help desk, and that frightened me. 2, we were just emailing sensitive info in ConnectWise, right? And I say this admittingly because everyone's at their own journey in their operation ability and what they have time for and where they're focused. I mean, it's hard running a business, right? So, and I couldn't find a good tool. You know, our MSP does Apple and Google stuff, so we're like, you know, weird in that way, and we didn't have encrypted email on Google. By the way, send your Apple questions my way. Happy to help this group.
But you know what? It's all coming back to me now. I'm sober. No.
So, yeah, exactly. So I started Traceless. We integrated into ConnectWise Manage to provide a way for MSPs to protect their sensitive info. And since then, we've integrated ServiceNow, Autotask, Slack. We have Teams on the roadmap. Duo Authenticator is almost done. And we have Halo on our near-term roadmap. We also have a standalone app. So, for example, ConnectWise uses Traceless to move database files during migrations. So we support sending and receiving a sensitive info, text or file-based. Most people find it's easier and faster and a better experience when they use Traceless. We integrate within the pod system into ConnectWise and similar mechanism in ServiceNow and Autotask. So that's where we are now. One of the other big products we're about to launch is a mechanism to detect and remove sensitive information from ticketing systems and chat tools. So a lot of times people are like, oh, you know, the question is, do you have passwords in your PSA? And the answer typically is like, well, our tech shouldn't do that. And then it's like, I don't disagree, but that wasn't the question. And then the answer is like, oh, yeah, I bet there are passwords sitting around in ConnectWise. And so we're going to build a tool. It's almost done to remove that data and keep everybody's noses clean, so to speak. And then next year, we're moving into more threat protection for Slack and Teams. So, you know, when you think about protecting email, I'm sure most people here, and Adam, you'd probably be able to confirm this in their QBRs. And what they do is they protect email with third-party services. Very common, right? But when we ask people if they protect Slack or Teams, 100% of the time, the answer is no. Or I think there's something weird that Defender might do, but it's not very specific in nature. And so we see Slack and Teams as a huge threat vector for businesses in the future, now and in the future. And we believe that we'll have parity of importance to protect Slack and Teams. What's also pretty scary is there's no security awareness training for people. So, you know, you have email, don't do this, let me try to phish you, train you, get your head. But there's nothing really around Teams or Slack. And then the scariest thing is the feature is like invite everybody to your tenant, right? So imagine if you're like, oh, you know, all these people can just invite other people to my tenant. And that means that your users can expand your threat perimeter, which is a pretty crazy thought, right? But that's the feature, right? That's what they want you to do, right? To communicate with people. So it'll probably be fully baked November of next year, but we'll have a full threat protection product that we'll have a channel program and everything. So I'm really excited about like what we've been able to do and where we're going as a company. And yeah, and so that's what Traceless is.
Are you guys channel only or no?
No, so we have a lot of our customers we're selling directly to MSPs.
Okay.
And we have by nature of people receiving traceless links, they sign up and use the tool themselves. So we do have a few customers who are direct. I think they're from other MSPs just by osmosis. But the demand we felt for a channel program to send and receive sensitive information on a standalone product that's inexpensive, it didn't seem like the focus would be worth the cash for us. But a sell-through product to sell persistent threat products for Slack and Teams, that's definitely a good opportunity, right? Because we're selling it by user based on the tenant. So part of next year will be standing up a channel program and launching with a pretty large distributor in the space. Not Paxate, probably, but we'll see.
Did you say not Paxate?
Yeah, they're busy. I think they're having a lot of success with vendors, but it's pretty tough to get as a vendor now. It's like, oh yeah, next year we'll have a self-service thing. We're busy. Yeah, we're onboarding a bunch of people. So I think we missed that wave, which is fine. We'll get back there. But
okay. The way you said it, I thought, wait, is something going on with Paxate that I don't know?
No, they're doing great. That's they're having good problems, right?
Okay. I just thought I'd clarify.
Growing pains. I'm there with you, Gene.
Yeah. And it's cool. When they settle down, I'd love to talk to them, but we got to pick our investments of time as humans because that's our human capital. So but I'm pretty excited. So we'll have it, you can work with Traceless, you can go through distribution to resell the product, and it's going to be pretty fun. So
okay.
It's a good question. Thanks for letting me take a few minutes.
And as you were talking about Apple and all that, it all just kind of came back. So
yeah, and a lot of people, we had a big uptick of inquiries after the MGM breach, and a lot of people protected their help desk in 10 minutes. They signed up, integrated, invited their team, and told their team to add the pod and use the tool. So that's, a lot of the feedback we get is it's easy to adopt. And it always works. So I think that, a lot of being an MSP, a lot of vendors have complexities and annoyances for implementation and sometimes hard to adopt internally. So we've done what we could to make it simple.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to hijack. You're on mute. Haha, I can keep talking. And Adam, I know I owe you a phone call or a message. I just saw it. I'm not ignoring you.
No, I just silently judge you every day. I've got a reminder, Judge Heather in the mornings, right over my cup of coffee.
No, I was out of town
on
and
your...
I'm back and I'm drowning.
Yeah, it's on on the inside of your cup when you just sip. It's like Judge Heather.
I'm gonna let Gene have your spot on the podcast instead. Well,
wow, they're so mean. They're so mean to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a great question because as I was listening and talking about other ways of communicating, I cannot say if our help desk team actually will initiate a Teams chat with some of our clients to help them with anything. And Dean, you were mentioning just trying to do that scrub and do that scan, and we're about to go through our SOC audit next month, and I know one of our checks is when it comes to storing password is we know that during configurations, right, and they're on a password field, it gets encrypted, and we try to tell people don't store it anywhere that it's clear text. But what happens, like you said, what happens if somebody decided to put it on a ticket? And it's now out there, and being able to go through all that data. If I have to do it, in here, that will be a nightmare. I don't even know where to start. Maybe just build a couple of SQL queries and try to do my best there. But it's great to know that there are tools out there that can help you with two things. One will be compliance, and then we're around this whole process journey. And the follow by all is make sure that everybody's following the rules, and how do we measure that and verify that. um, and that is a very big piece of that.
Well, and this is actually the first time I've been in a meeting where somebody has even brought up Slack and Teams. And it just never occurred to me to talk to my clients about the security risks there and some basic practices. And I'm actually going to one of our customers on Monday to do like the annual, hey, there's a reason why you don't plug your USB phone charger in at the airport, and why I don't want you at the hotel internet service. It's not because I'm trying to be mean, but this is things that have happened, and this is how people have gotten in. And I can honestly say I've never said, and by the way, let's talk about Teams and Slack, and they use both. So, I mean, this is like huge. I can't believe now I got to go back and rewrite that damn PD that slide presentation I have going on, because this is important, and I've never thought about it from that aspect. So I appreciate what you brought to this. This is huge.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a tool for me to use later on.
Yep, totally.
So I'm going to start plugging in those little nuggets now. So when the tool becomes available, I can start talking to my customers.
This is something where, like, this time of year, I always recommend people, like, as MSPs. I know when I was doing technology leadership, we released a video for our corporation every year on how to stay safe for online shopping, how to verify, because a lot of people buy on Facebook Marketplace, how to verify who you are talking to. It's not an easy thing, but there are little tricks you can do to help you, and your customers appreciate that. So, like, having a video with Gene saying, hey, this is Gene from Traceless. We're willing to, here's what you should do to help verify the authenticity of a reseller. Like, here's where Amazon resellers are going to get you. Here's where Facebook Marketplace resellers are going to get you. And just those standard things that, like, a lot of us take for granted to how to verify a user, your clients don't know. And if they have a video they can share with their staff, that's great marketing right there, as well as keeping them safe and reducing the number of help desk tickets you're going to get this Christmas.
Well, and they can talk to their family members who are probably in there too. So, hey, you don't want your credit cards breached, or taken, at Christmas, because now your kids have nothing, and things like that, or you're going on vacation. This has like been my favorite call. I love this.
Cool.
Yeah, those little videos, we actually, through our employee security training platform, the one that just came out this week, it was all about scams like that for holiday shopping and stuff like that. And so all of our clients who are on that program, every one of their users got to see that video. And, it was more about personally how they can protect themselves, which then extrapolates to protecting the business. And I find that the platform that they're on, their weekly little mini training things that go out to all of these users are really relevant with what's going on at the time. And so that's similar to what you're saying, is having that video go out. They're getting that benefit because it's going to all of them, and then a lot of the topics are stuff that they can use in their personal lives as well.
Right. So I'm curious, do you pay special attention to that, or have your customers pay special attention that their employees are doing and watching the training?
Well, I'm not sure. The platform we use, every employee gets a security score. And so if they don't watch the videos, their security score goes down, and the manager can actually go in and see which employees. As part of our business review with them, we review it all, and some of them are really good at it and some of them are not so great. So sometimes I'll get feedback from the manager and say, hey, these last reviews, I heard from my employees, they really liked them, these last videos. And some I don't hear from, but we try and follow up with them on a somewhat consistent basis to make sure. We just can't follow up on every single one of our clients on the platform. They have managers, and then it's up to them to be following up on their staff. But now, now they're building in a lot of additional tools in reporting and notifications. So the managers will now get emails when they when one of their employees falls below a certain level with their employee security score. It's kind of like a credit score.
Right.
It's
are you
Breach Secure.
using?
We use Breach Secure now.
Oh, Breach Secure. Okay.
Yeah, and they're really stepping it up, I find, in terms of the development of their product and where they're taking it to make it as easy as possible. And these new notifications and stuff that we can program in are gonna, you know, solve a lot of that of what you're just talking about of seeing that the people are actually watching the videos.
We just noticed that in November and December, there's typically a decline in employees across the board doing those videos, whether it's because of end of year and vacations or, you know, there's a whole bunch of different things that fall into that. And we've been trying to figure out how can we entice them or help our customers entice their employees to say, no, this is the time of year you really need to be watching. And so I think we're actually going to do those kind of videos starting in September, October, November, because December, you know, we're heavy private equity and insurance. They can't breathe right now, starting in November. And it's really easy for them to just, you know, put it by the wayside.
We recommend you start your campaigns in October to synergize with Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Because all the major vendors are going to be pushing out ads anyway, so might as well ride that wave. Hey, they're advertising for you. All you got to do is like, hey, we have a video on how to stay safe the holiday season. So you start your campaign then, and everybody's happy. So we usually say, yeah, you're right. September, October is right when you should be hitting cybersecurity awareness.
Yeah.
And then when they go into November, December, they're riding that high, and everybody's happy.
Right.
Okay, and on the QBR, should that be a touch point on the QBR?
Well, and
who's including it in it on that?
I think we should add this to our fall meeting as an agenda item about talking to the MSPs about, you know, hey, this is what's coming up this coming up quarter, and you know, Adam can talk about it.
I recommend for your peer group. So I do this for our Thursday meetings, our public meetings. Is I've got a standard agenda for the year. And we just talked about this last week and this week was right now, look at next year and say, when do you want to hit certain topics? Right. So when do you want to hit user security? Put it on your calendar. So for the Central Mafia group on your website, have events. Like we know in March, we will talk about, or actually like February, we'll talk about E-rate. For all you MSPs that are talking about E-rate, you need to remember, you got to get on top of that this month. And then in March, we're talking about June budgets for your state employees, if you're a United States MSP. And then like, I just have those reminders on my calendar, go week by week throughout the entire year of what do I need to talk about? Because otherwise I'll forget. I get busy.
Come on, don't put on there Bug Heather.
I was taking notes and I was like, when just FY July is when it looks like we have the focus on cybersecurity.
I almost think there needs to be something cybersecurity all year because it's getting to be such a big animal. I mean, with all these breaches happening and things like that, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I was an ICS or I was a critical infrastructure CISO for a number of years, and that's a whole different level. Like you're talking like verifying users, and then we're talking about like also like how to get into physical security and verifying users. Is this a technician who should be on site? It's just a whole different level, and it's getting worse. With a lot of these attacks that you can't tell until like a year later when something starts failing.
Right. And then look at the stuff that Traceless is going to be bringing out and things like that. So that will be kind of in alignment with that as, hey, you know, there's going to be different. I mean, vendors, they all seem like they bring all their new stuff that beginning of fourth quarter, probably because of security awareness in October. But, and they kind of ride that, and then you have the big ConnectWise and Kaseya and Datos and all that's going on during that time. So. I'm done. I keep saying I'm done, and then I have more to talk.
I'm over here taking all sorts of notes on new topics and things that we can plug in. So I think the E-rate and the budget pieces,
That's
we're huge when it comes to E-rate, and I think we got a good solid process. We have actually a whole department that it's just public sector and schools. But yeah, I think it's a great topic to just to put in front of people. It's like these are probably the things that you need to borrow because there's great opportunities and how to address those.
I put my list in there for you to plagiarize there, Juan. No one needs to go to it. This is just for Juan to be lazy.
Well, it's just copy.
I basically copy and paste that, and I adjust it every year.
Wait, did you?
I've been building it for a decade now. Like, I highly recommend MSPs come up with their own version of this. This is just to keep you, it's just to keep you on task. Like, I am so disorganized in my corporate life that I had like all these reminders. Like, it was often joked in our corporate meetings that if Adam Walter had walk off cliff at 2:00 on his calendar, he'd be walking out the door because I was a religious calendar follower.
Yeah, and I think
just so you know, Gene, I wish you would have called me when I was in the corporate office, because I would have totally implemented Traceless there, because that was a pain in my butt. I would say once a week as a CISO, somebody called me, how do I verify that somebody called me for a password change? Mm-hmm. And so he's like, well, you can go into Active Directory. We had this little policy, like, you can ask them one of these 3 things. Like, but if I had a nice integrated software, I wouldn't wake up at night in a cold sweat wondering, if it's not easy enough, my text won't do it. Like, I know Bob. This is just Bob calling me for the 3rd time this month, for his password change. That kept me up, man. Cold sweats.
Bob. Write it down, Bob. Put it on a sticky note. Put it on your computer and then do a selfie.
Bob and Susan, they're my 2 punching bags. Bad users.
I have to bounce off because I have an interview, so I have to go. But great talk, great meetings, and a lot of things to think about. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Gene, I will remember next time. You won't have to tell me twice what you guys do. And Adam, I still owe you a message, a response. It probably won't be today just because I'm like bouncing. But I will get back to you. I have not forgotten about it.
I'll just keep my reminder refreshed there as I drink my cup of coffee. Judge Heather.
And everybody else, have a good holiday if I don't talk to you guys beforehand. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
I was looking at your roadmap there, and that's great. Even like if you want to do your messaging and your marketing plan or anything like that around those different topics, sir.
Yeah, just
super
it helps MSP stay on staff, stay on topic. So like when we have a meeting, like, hey, if you want to, hey, I really want to know about multi-factor, we talk about in September. It's one of our topics, and it's just keeps me on stack. So we actually have playbooks that we apply to a client. It's like, hey, here's what you talked about your client this year. We'll remind you. Don't worry about it. But then I started using it for my own company. Oh yeah, it's our stand-up meeting, or we have like we do EOS light. We kind of self-implement EOS, and so we know it's this Monday. This is our quarterly. We know we need to talk about these things. We know IT Nation's coming up this quarter. We know first quarter's coming up. We know the economy does this. We know our standard sales are this. So we have our playbook we run through, kind of machines. So.
Yeah, we're EOS too, so they were talking earlier about those quarters. It's amazing.
And then like as a Central Mafia, you can say like, hey, it's coming up on September. We need to call Gene back and see if he wants to come back in and talk about security again.
It's
he can be really lazy.
Gene, you're in there. In September, you hit it, Adam. In September, it's like Reach out to Gene. All right, Richard. Thank you, Richard. I was gonna, for those that wanna learn also a little bit more about Gene and Traceless, I posted the URL there.
Thanks, Juan.
Check it out. All right. Any other comments, questions, issues, concerns? We can talk about about Heather now that she left. Let's not pick on Sean. I mean, Sean's just an easy target. That's great, Gene. Thank you so much for that. You got like 5. Yeah, I got to pick up 5 points here that I'm gonna go back to our team downstairs and just ask those questions. Probably just bring it up for awareness within our group. Like I said, I mean, we're about to go through our physical SOC audit next month for all
You
that
have fun with
compliance.
that.
So yes, I got the invite today. I was like, oh, they're gonna be here. So it's our first one. So we'll see how that goes. We did our sending all of our documentation a couple of weeks ago, all of the different reports. So now they're really gonna put us on the spot and ask us for all that, all that stuff that we say we're doing. We have got to prove it right away. So
Yep.
hope.
Well, that's why you go
hope-
SOC 1. Then you don't have to prove
hope-
it. You just say whatever you want.
Yeah. And so yes, looking forward to that one. That's going to be a good. Gonna have to go through all our policies and make sure that we have.
It's
all
always
that.
been a dream of mine, Juan, to do a SOC 1, just like set up a
SOC
company, do a SOC 1, and just fill it up with a bunch of crap. I mean, just absolutely like bull crap. And just when people ask for my SOC 1 attestation, I send it to them and see how many of them actually read through it.
We're gonna go through it.
Like what's your authentication process for admins? We don't have one. It's just flat out just say
it is documented. Yeah, I mean,
and document it.
Yeah,
and it's
in
like
reality,
see how many people actually come back and say, yeah, this isn't okay with us.
Yeah.
Like tell us about your backup process. We run RAID 5 and just leave it at that. I have a theory that I spent all this money on my SOC 2 that no one's actually reading it and verifying it, like saying they don't really care. They just know they have a paper in their hand that they put in a folder.
I don't know. For us, it's been, we do get a lot of our clients that will ask us for it and we send it. And like you said, I don't know if they're actually reading it.
Do they give you feedback on it? Never.
No. It's saving us a whole bunch of time every time, we had a client.
That's the big thing for me is I give them my paper and say, here's my paper.
Yeah. So, I mean, on all the audits, we still have to spend some time. So. All right. Thank you, Gene. Again, thanks, buddy. Really appreciate it. Gene's dropping off. Oh, he dropped off already. So no, I think this has been great conversation. I'm gonna stop the recording.